are we doing? Evidence.
Stand by, load make ready.
Same drill?
Same drill. Stand by. Hit! Cease fire, cease fire.
Hey everyone, afternoon. Troy McClure coming at you from Troy Tactical Defense. I just wanted to make sure that everything that I show was at least interesting and new. At the same time, I've had quite a few comments lately as to how I've been liking my PDP so far, and that I've had it for over a year. And wanted to introduce you also to the new PDP 3.5-inch F-Series that has been added into my collection thanks to Sherry Mack. Well, so far on my original PDP Mark 1 here, and I say this is the Mark 1, this is the original that had come out, God, almost about a year and a half ago now. And I've got over 2,500 rounds fired since purchasing the pistol. I've had no failures using several different types of ammunition like steel, aluminum, or brass cased. I usually use Cylinder Beloit, MaxTech, MagTech, and for my EDC I use 6 Hour Elite 147 grain ammunition. This is considered to be my fall, wintertime EDC. I'm still using the older Apex PPQ Q5 match flat face trigger set. As you can tell, all my weapons here are clear, just to let you know. There's no ammunition on the table or anywhere in the room. The reset for this is very crisp and tactile, but look how flat face the trigger wall is. I'm literally on the wall right here, right now. That's very, very quick. Reset again. Very quick and tactile. I like this more than anything else as part of the gun. But using this trigger was an engineering gamble, and it seems to only work with the Mark 1 PDP only. So take my use of this trigger with a grain of salt, but so far it's excellent for its intended use and would easily rely on it to defend my life. I can't give much comment about whether or not this is a good idea. I don't have any experience so far about the Overwatch or the specific one that Walther created. I'm hoping that they'll be able to have some options here for the PDP 3.5-inch, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm also still using a stainless steel guide rod from ZR Tactical Solutions, and the best way to be able to pick up one of those is from Ben Stoger's Pro Shop. That's where I picked up mine. I actually think that the steel guide rod is a great way to help with that perceived recoil, and I like that a lot better than I did with the polymer guide rod that came with the actual pistol. So, since my last video on the PDP, as you can tell, I've now had this pistol Cerakoted completely. I love it. I think it's fantastic. What we did was a combination of H229 Smith & Wesson Sniper Green with the H46 Graphite Black, and had a little bit of a warm finish. You can tell there's a little bit of wear marks here from the holster that I'm using. I also took the time to fill in the magazines and fill them in with color coders on the numbers. I wanted to be able to have it bright and be able to be seen easily, not only to just make sure that I can see the numbers, but also tell on the range whether or not these are mine or someone else's. And I can show a video if you guys are all interested about how to be able to make your magazines, whether they be polymer or they be steel or aluminum or whatever the material, to be able to get those numbers to be able to shine so you can see your number count pretty well. I also had a bit of texturing added to the front here in the gas pedal region of the pistol for better recoil management. What happens is, out of the box, the PDP is very slick and has additional perceived recoil, mainly because of the flared chambering of the barrel, combined with the lighter weight of the PDP's heavily serrated slide. And that's why I think there's a lot more perceived recoil with this. So what I had Cerakote Specialties do is they actually made a bit of texturing right here. So I'm holding this left-handed where my support thumb really goes here. Usually when I'm firing, it usually kind of slips off. Here I have a great gas pedal feature where I can keep grip onto the pistol at its fullest. I also changed reflex optics. So I originally had a Holosun HS407CO optic that used an 8 MOA circle so that I could be able to more quickly acquire my targets. It worked well, but I was curious about the Holosun 407C that uses the ACSS reticle from Primary Arms, and it was a gamble that I really liked because I was wonderfully surprised and will ultimately use this reticle with my recce rifle setup. I'm also looking forward to trying out the Primary Arms SLX 1-10 LPVO. When it came to using the ACSS, target acquisition was even faster using that chevron than it was with the 8 MOA circle, and the giant 32 MOA ring really helps with finding the ACSS chevron for that better precision when it comes to firing. So I really was surprised more than ever that the chevron system was a lot better than a simple red dot or even an 8 MOA circle. In addition, if you notice too, I replaced the actual WMLs, the weapon mounted lights that I had on. These originally were O-lights. I've now changed them over to the TLR system simply because of the fact that I really wanted to be able to work both in the waistband and outer waistband with my favorite holster company, which is Works Holsters. MIE Productions is also one of my favorites as well, and I still don't have a problem with them, but I also like the Works holster a lot more. Just securely fits. This is my in the waistband holster. I don't carry appendix. I do carry more on the strong side. The 9 o'clock, I think, position would technically be, but strong side on that. And what I did was, in case I want to be able to go with the Safariland style, I have a different out of the waistband also from Works holsters. So really good stuff here that I could use and be able to change this to a Safariland style or keep it with this main belt style. So the Battler Mini that I had with it is now using a TLR1 HL, and it has its matching holsters. But overall, I still like this Mark 1 PDP. There's no shifting and movement of the optic even after some abuse, and I will continue to have it as my fall and main EDC setup. It looks better than ever than before. So let's talk about the elephant in the room here. And I've seen a couple of videos where people are talking about the F-Series of the PDP. This is what I would consider their Mark II. You can tell there's nothing in the chamber here. But I have to give a couple comments about that, if that's alright. I waited a while to make a video on the F-Series because I wanted to see if Sherry Mack, as my wife, truly liked it and didn't have any kind of buyer's remorse after selling her beloved H&K VP9SK that she'd had for over 7 years. It was a great EDC, and she really loved the ambidextrous paddle mag release, and it just kind of wasn't worth the cost of getting the slide milled and reset just for the optic. Plus, we knew we'd lose value if we had done that and cut the slide for the optic first, trying to resell it. I've noticed that a lot of people, when they try and buy weapons or they try to buy pistols from other people, the less customization, the better. I understand that having your slide cut and milled for an RMR or similar type optic is kind of the norm now, but at the same time, there's always going to be value lost for any kind of modification. I wanted to keep that in mind. What I wanted to do was get into the good, the bad, and, well, honestly, the interesting when it comes to this particular pistol. Let's start off with the good, and that is the ergonomics of this particular pistol. They're still fantastic and really should be the standard for the PDP, and as well as it has that great PDT trigger. This actually fired pretty well, but it was becoming a little more difficult to perform hammer-fired pairs as opposed to controlled paired fire. And I'm thinking it's because of the fact that it's a duty trigger with which law enforcement would use a bit more. So for example, where I'm having a control pair, where I'm firing in a time marron like 1-1000, 2-1000, 1-1000, 2-1000, a hammered fire pair is a lot faster where I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. It's actually a little more difficult to perform that on this pistol as opposed to my Gen 1 PDP because of the flat face trigger. So again, I think the PDT trigger is a fantastic trigger to use, but I also think that with this particular trigger, it's not made for hammer fire. It's really made for actual control pair fire, which is something that I would think in duty use would be necessary. Now, this also has enough pick rail space for a small weapon mounted light or laser. In this particular example here, I used a TLR 7A, which is fantastic to use, but I wanted it to be able to mate with my actual holster, again from Works. Once again, it's got a nice cant to it. It's actually worth changing weapon mounted lights. I have other pistols I can put the other O-lights on. She really likes it. We also used the spare mag carrier for this particular firearm, and the mag carrier that it does come with it is great to be able to fit the PDP. They are specifically for the PDP, and they're not used for any other type of magazine, but these are great to be able to add. You can even connect it to the actual holster itself, where you can set it independently, and so I think it's a fantastic option to be able to use with that mag carrier. Now let's get into the bad. And the bad is that I noticed over time we were continually having misfires using our celluloid ammunition as well as our Max Tech. Same stuff that we use in the 4-inch PDP. The weird part is that the pistol fired consistently for the first 500 to 1,000 rounds. We didn't have any real problems with this. At first we thought the misfires were from either limp wristing the weapon or that Sherry Mack wasn't charging the slide properly. But what happened is you have to go all the way back, even on an empty magazine, to be able to reset it. So perhaps it was causing a jam. We're not really sure. But either way, it was a bit irritating to me, and it just pissed her off. So we decided to send it back to Walther Arms. I'll be very honest with Walther, I was a little surprised. I know that a lot of places have their issues when it comes to RMAs or to take a long time when it comes to returning pistols after a check or repair. They usually try and say that you're crazy or something like that, but I gotta give it to Walther. The turnaround time was really fast. I got onto their chat section of their line as opposed to calling. I got an RMA number, a shipping label, I shipped it, and got it back in about 1.5 weeks total. And this is including weekend days, which is actually pretty good. Apparently, according to the invoice sheet, what they did was they replaced the striker fire assembly. And I can only assume that that meant the striker pin, the spring, the holding cups, and possibly some other parts that I don't know about. They kept the description of what they did rather vague. So I'm not sure whether or not we've actually solved the problem. I took a chance and decided to remount the optic onto it as well as the light. We're going to go to the range this weekend and test it out to make sure everything's firing okay. So I really hope that this really solves a lot of the problems that we were having with regards to misfires. Now let's get into the interesting. As much as I like this PDT trigger, as I said out of the box, I have to agree with Sherry Mac. It's great, especially something out of the box, but it could be improved a bit. Not to the point of becoming simply just an aftermarket trigger like an Apex or an Overwatch Precision or something like that, but something with a little less curvature to the trigger itself. I have to admit the HK VP9SK had a little bit nicer trigger set than the PDT. What I didn't like about the HK VP9SK is that after you reset, what happened is as soon as you would go to the reset area, it would literally kick your finger almost out of the trigger guard because the spring retention was so good. So I really wish that they would get something a little bit nicer, a little flatter for that. Hopefully Apex, Overwatch Precision, or Walther has a trigger that's available for the 3.5 and S-Series, because right now they don't seem to have anything. I've heard some rumblings about that they would actually have something coming out pretty soon, but so far I haven't heard anything definitive about a release date. Otherwise, I'm still a fan of Walther and always will be. I just wish that the support that's recently been gained with the PDP needs to continue with the F-Series in addition to the PDP Compact as well as our Match Series. So please continue to support Walther and tell companies to make stuff for this platform, because I think it's worth supporting. Well, that's it for this video on the update right now. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. Sorry for taking so long to get some videos up, but there's still stuff coming along the pipeline. Stay tuned. Appreciate all the support. Take care. Peace.